there's times you don't feel human. Not to get too dark, but I can't tell you how many times, like, the temptation to just take your whole life, it's just, you feel like a shell of yourself. My name is Robert Boyd, and God, what don't I do? I got a lot of different titles. I'm an actor, filmmaker. I teach acting. I'm a coach for acting. And above all, my most important job is a dad. I have a son who's 10, he's going on 11, and I have a daughter who's 5. It's one of the toughest jobs I've ever had. So much responsibility. It's scary every day, but the best moments are coming down to their element. I get to have fun with them. I try not to take it too seriously, but at the same time, you've got your aspects where you have to be their parent. How I always looked at it is, as a dad, you wear multiple hats. I've got the hat of the coach, I got the hat of the mentor, but I also don't see nothing wrong with the hat of a friend. And if all those other needs and priorities are met, I'm a friend, and that's how I get to be with my son. We get to be friends. With my daughter, we get to be friends, until something else takes priority. Oh, now I got to be a dad. Now I got to be a disciplinarian. Now I got to be, the mentor, whatever it may be. But I think that's like the art of parenting, right? Knowing who it is you have to be in the moment. There's a concept that my son, as he enters this age, and this is the age, I think, since he was born, that I've been looking forward to, because now we get to go to the gym, now we get to work out. I've been taking him to like aquafit classes with me, right? As I recover from a car accident that I had many years ago. Some of the injuries still plague me. So before that, I was a big power lifter, and turns out I just can't get back into that same routine without having a lot of like neurological consequences. The YMCA we go to actually has like this outdoor turf, big tire that you can go flip, battle ropes and things like that. And so the concept I try to teach them is to have serious fun, where you do it seriously, you try to push yourself seriously, but then you have fun with it. And I think there's so much that ties into being an actor as well, because you do have those moments in roles where it is the most devastating moment of your life. As I teach my students when I'm teaching acting classes, the way we train in certain exercises, I have to remind them these are not casual circumstances. Anybody could play what we're doing right now, right? When it's low stakes or just a nice little moment in life, you just get to talk or just get to exist. Anybody can achieve that. But if we're talking about being an actor of depth, you got to be able to know how to extrovert that out. If you won the lottery, but it's just like, hey, you got some nice coupons in the mail and that's how you treat it, they don't go together. You are selflessly giving yourself over to it, right? You are serving this project. At least I think that's what the best artists do. It's something outside of yourself that you're serving. And that's probably what attracts me the most to acting, is it's the way to live life to its fullest and really get to experience. Because again, if you do it seriously and you really delve into these things, man, as an actor, you can live 1,000 lifetimes. So when I picked up my acting journey again, because there's been times in my life I picked it up, I let it go, I picked it up, I let it go. Consistency and just finishing what I start was such a major problem for me. So this time around, I made a pact with myself and I said, you're allowed to do this, but if you are to quit, this is the last time you ever try it again. You don't do it again. And I've stuck with it since, so about 2016, 2017. So while I was doing that, I was working a job overnight where I delivered nuclear pharmaceuticals to outpatient clinics and hospitals. So basically, like when you get a CAT scan or something like that, the medicine that we made in-house takes radioactive material to a specific place in your body. So if you're at a cardiologist's place and they want to see what's happening in your heart, they'll inject the medicine that is designed to take the radioactive material to the heart. Or if you're at pulmonary, they want to see your lungs, or, so on and so forth. So one night, I'm making my rounds. I think I worked from about 2 to 2, 3 days a week. So I was putting in full-time hours about 3 days a week. My day consisted of basically 2 legs. I go deliver, and then I'd also pick up the old cans so that we can properly dispose of them. I'm sitting at a red light and I just get plowed about, guy must have been doing about 30, 40 based off like the damage, and I'm only estimating. I know both cars were totaled. His car was completely undrivable. My airbags didn't go off. And luckily the cans that I had inside my vehicle were all used, so there wasn't like heavy radioactive material. And I guess from the shock of it, I'm just like, oh, it's not so bad. I even called Melissa out there. I'm like, hey, I was just involved in an accident. I was rear-ended. And she's like, oh my God, she's losing her shit. I'm like, I'm fine. I thought I was actually going to finish out the workday. And about 10 minutes later, I guess when the adrenaline just wore off, I experienced the worst back pain I've ever had in my life. I remember being taken to the hospital, and I don't know if they gave me like some painkillers or something, but I just felt so out of it. And ended up going home. And little did I know that from there, I actually suffered a brain injury that still impacts me greatly. So when it first happened, I'm going through intensive vertigo, really bad fatigue to the point I can't get out of bed. My memory's in and out. It's horrible. Because this happened on the clock, it's a workman's comp case. And now I've got workers' comp doctors who, for the insurance company, all working their best to prove that I'm making this all up. God, I remember I had one doctor I went and saw, probably one of the worst moments of my life. I'm going through vertigo really badly in this office at the time. He's demanding that I answer his questions, and I'm getting loopy, and guy started laughing in my face as if like I'm putting on a show, and I'm just doing horribly. This lasted about maybe an hour or a little over an hour. And I remember afterwards, it took so much out of me not to like cry. And I wasn't crying because like my feelings were hurt. I was crying because of how powerless it felt, that I couldn't do anything back then when everything in me wanted to just knock this guy the fuck out. You can't argue back. You can't fight back because it kills your case, because they'll just write you're argumentative. You're making it up. You're getting defensive. But they can approach you however you want. And his subtext is, you're a fucking liar. You're making this up. He doesn't say those words, but it's all in the demeanor. But that night, man, I just cried, and I cried hard. It like really destroyed me. And when you have medical professionals, when it almost feels like nobody's on your side, it really does make you guess, shit, is what I'm going through real? Or like, what is wrong with me? When I'm at my worst, it's much more apparent. I go through aphasia, which is what Bruce Willis has. I gotta really find words. I've found little ways in life to kind of hide and mask the struggles that I go through with it. And then when I can't, I recluse, because I just don't like being shown in this light. When I'm at my absolute worst, and this is no exaggeration, physically it looks like I had a stroke. It gets bad. My face can contort really badly. I have next to no balance, no energy. It can get really, really bad. And the hard part is, when are these things coming on? It almost feels like it comes on with no warning. And you never know when you do too much until you've done too much. Sometimes, I might start feeling things come on. I'm like, all right, I gotta ease the intensity. I gotta take a few days off, and just kind of either take it easy or sometimes do next to nothing. Or I've been feeling great and I want to get back to the life I was living before and really putting my best foot forward and hustle hard. And then all of a sudden, boom, I've hit a wall. The more things get like that, God, it could take weeks to really recover to look somewhat next to normal. And if it's really bad, it could really take months. There's times you don't feel human. I can't tell you how many times, like the temptation to just take your own life. It's just, you feel like a shell of yourself. And one of the things I think that really saved my life is there's a book I came across called The Ghost in My Brain. The book really helped me be able to put into words that experience. One analogy they kind of gave is as if we have, us as people, we have 3 batteries. We have our A battery, our B battery, and our C battery. Our A battery is our main battery. That's what we use in our waking life. And if you're someone that's never been through this, if you're perfectly healthy, the A battery, you'll use it up, and then when you go to sleep, it just recharges. And then you got your A battery again the next day. Well, when you're someone like me, you'll go through your A battery and deplete it, and then you'll go through your B battery and deplete it, and then you'll get to your C. And as you go through each one, the recharge time takes longer and longer. And your C battery is kind of like your absolute last emergency battery before, you know, everything really breaks down. God, that was one of the things that helped me. And just for the fact that someone else out there was able to say, this is what I go through, and I'm like, oh my God, finally some validation. And just to kind of spin it, this is why I think it's so important when you're storytelling to tell the truth, because you have no idea whose story you are telling. And I think it is important to also tell your story, because for that same reason, you never know if your story is someone else's manual, someone else's how-to. In some ways, I am lucky with some of my symptoms. In some ways, I'm very unfortunate, unlucky. And, you know, there's definitely people out there that have had it much worse, are dealing with much worse. I'm lucky I have the support system I have. I wouldn't know where I'd be without that. You wanna come with Daddy? You wanna sit with Daddy? Man, that's a camera. Yeah, it's a camera. What the future holds for me is to make sure my little ones, yeah, that's a camera right there, that these little ones grow up as healthy and nurtured as I possibly can for them, to help them become the best version of themselves. For me, I'm just floating in the ocean, man, and wherever this ocean of life takes me. So I'll work with what the water gives me, what the life gives me. I won't drown, but I'll continue to try to navigate somewhere